Hi, and welcome back. You're listening to another episode of Tears Are Miracles. Here, I like to bring you the word that the Lord has given me to share with you, the listener. I pray that it will be an encouragement to you as you listen. And you can also find this message in video format on YouTube under the same name, Tears Are Miracles. Thanks for tuning in. You're listening to episode 11. This is a message that I had received earlier this year, towards the end of January and into February. I have split it into 3 parts, just based on what the Lord was giving me over the course of several days. And so you're listening to the first part. Tune into the second and third parts, which will be coming soon. So, to give you some background on today's message, it began one morning recently as I was just sitting to listen to what the Lord would have to tell me that day. And that specific morning, He just began by saying, Watchtower. Now, I did not know what that meant, but soon after, I heard another word drop into my spirit, and that is the word peer, as in P-E-E-R. And after I heard that, I was prompted to look up the meaning of the word peer. And the definition that I came across is to look keenly, earnestly, intently, to look narrowly or searchingly in an effort to discern clearly. Then soon after that, I heard, Watchman, what of the night? And this I recognized to be a verse. I found it later to be in Isaiah 21. And I ended up reading that entire chapter that morning. So I think I'll read it here just for context. So Isaiah 21, starting from verses 1. The burden of the desert of the sea. As whirlwinds in the south pass through, so it cometh from the desert, from a terrible land. A grievous vision is declared unto me. The treacherous dealer dealeth treacherously, and the spoiler spoileth. Go up, O Elam, besiege, O Media. All the sighing thereof have I made to cease. Therefore are my loins filled with pain. Pangs have taken hold upon me, as the pangs of a woman that travaileth. I was bowed down at the hearing of it. I was dismayed at the seeing of it. My heart panted. Fearfulness affrighted me. The night of my pleasure hath he turned into fear unto me. Prepare the table. Watch in the watchtower. Eat, drink. Arise, ye princes, and anoint the shield. For thus hath the Lord said unto me, Go set a watchman, let him declare what he seeth. And he saw a chariot with a couple of horsemen, a chariot of asses, and a chariot of camels, and he hearkened diligently with much heed. And he cried, A lion, my Lord, I stand continually upon the watchtower in the daytime, and I am set in my ward whole nights. And behold, here cometh a chariot of men with a couple of horsemen. And he answered and said, Babylon is fallen, and all the graven images of her gods he hath broken unto the ground. O my threshing, and the corn of my floor, that which I have heard of the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, have I declared unto you. The burden of Duma. He calleth out to me out of Seir, Watchman, what of the night? Watchman, what of the night? The watchman said, The morning cometh, and also the night. If ye will inquire, inquire ye. Return, come. The burden of Arabia. In the forest in Arabia shall ye lodge, O ye travelling companies of Dedanim. The inhabitants of the land of Tema brought water to him that was thirsty. They prevented with their bread him that fled. For they fled from the swords, from the drawn sword, and from the bent bow. and from the grievousness of war. For thus hath the Lord said unto me, Within a year, according to the years of an hireling, and all the glory of Kedar shall fail, and the residue of the number of archers, the mighty men of the children of Kedar, shall be diminished. For the Lord God of Israel hath spoken it. So that was as far as I got that morning. And then throughout the day, I kept listening to the rest of that chapter in my audio Bible, and the Lord continued to give me more revelation. Essentially, what I understood about this chapter is that it was a vision that God had showed Isaiah of the future destruction of the kingdom of Babylon, basically because of its wickedness. So it was a prophecy of the fall of Babylon. So Isaiah describes it as a grievous vision, one that caused him to actually feel physically ill at what he was seeing, especially from verse 2 to 4, where it says, A grievous vision is declared unto me, the treacherous dealer dealeth treacherously, and the spoiler spoileth. And then after in verse 3, it says, Therefore are my loins filled with pain, pangs have taken hold upon me as the pangs of a woman. And then verse 4, my heart panted, fearfulness affrighted me, the night of my pleasure hath he turned into fear unto me. Then after, from verses 4, which I understood to be still part of the vision, Isaiah is told to set a watchman and to hear what the watchman would tell him. So verse 5, prepare the table, watch in the watchtower. And it's interesting that that's exactly what I heard, watchtower. So prepare the table, watch in the watchtower, eat, drink, arise, ye princes, and anoint the shield. For thus hath the Lord said unto me, Go set a watchman, let him declare what he seeth. And then afterwards we hear that the watchman is basically saying, Babylon is fallen, and all the graven images of her gods, God would break into the ground. So I continued to reread this through the day, as I said, and even the chapters that followed. I was especially struck by Isaiah 24, which is essentially a judgment against the whole world. And it was very interesting that one of the phrases from Isaiah 21 was actually repeated again in Isaiah 24, verses 16. So I'll read that to you. From the uttermost part of the earth have we heard songs, even glory to the righteous. But I said, my leanness, woe unto me! The treacherous dealers have dealt treacherously. Yea, the treacherous dealers have dealt very treacherously. Fear and the pit and the snare are upon thee, O inhabitant of the earth. And then later on, I came across Jeremiah 51, which also is on the same theme of the destruction of Babylon. So I'll read a few verses from there as well, starting from verses 6. Flee out of the midst of Babylon, and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is a time of the Lord's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense. Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Lord's hand, that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her, take balm for her pain, if so be she may be healed. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go every one into his own country. For her judgment reacheth unto heaven, and is lifted even up to the skies. The Lord hath brought forth our righteousness. Come, and let us declare in Zion the work of the Lord our God. Make bright the arrows, gather the shields. The Lord hath raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes, for his device is against Babylon, to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of the Lord, the vengeance of his temple. Set up the standard upon the walls of Babylon. Make the watch strong. Set up the watchmen. Prepare the ambushes. For the Lord hath both devised and done that which he spake against the inhabitants of Babylon. O thou that dwellest upon many waters, abundant in treasures, thine end is come, and the measure of thy covetousness. So after reading through those passages in Isaiah and Jeremiah, I began to see that there was a connection to something that my family and I had been reading, Revelation 17 and 18, which speaks to the vision that John saw of Babylon the Great and its subsequent fall. So although it's quite lengthy, I'll read through Revelation 17 and 18, just so you can get the full context of what that vision was. So Revelation 17. And there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints, and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. And the angel said unto me, Wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman, and of the beast that carrieth her, which hath the 7 heads and 10 horns. The beast that thou sawest was, and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was, and is not, and yet is. And here is a mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains, on which the woman sitteth. And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. And the beast that was, and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7th, and goeth into perdition. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. These have one mind, and they shall give their power and strength unto the beast. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. And he saith unto me, The waters which thou sawest where the whore sitteth are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. For God hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree, and to give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of God shall be fulfilled. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city, which reigneth over the kings of the earth. And then continuing on into Revelation 18. And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lighted with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God hath remembered her iniquities. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her, double according to her works. And the cup which she hath filled, fill to her double. How much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death, and mourning, and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire, for strong is the Lord God who judgeth her. And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication, and lived deliciously with her, shall bewail her, and lament for her, when they shall see the smoke of her burning, standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city! For in 1 hour is thy judgment come. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise any more. The merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones, and of pearls and fine linen, and purple and silk, and scarlet, and all thyine wood, and all manner vessels of ivory, and all manner vessels of most precious wood, and of brass, and of iron, and marble, and cinnamon, and odors, and ointments, and frankincense, and wine and oil, and fine flour, and wheat, and beasts, and sheep, and horses, and chariots, and slaves, and souls of men. And the fruits that thy soul lusted after are departed from thee, and all things which were dainty and goodly are departed from thee, and thou shalt find them no more at all. The merchants of these things which were made rich by her shall stand afar off for the fear of her torment, weeping and wailing, and saying, Alas, alas, that great city, that was clothed in fine linen, and purple, and scarlet, and decked with gold, and precious stones, and pearls. For in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught. And every shipmaster, and all the company in ships, and sailors, and as many as trade by the sea, stood afar off, and cried when they heard the smoke of her burning, saying, What city is like unto this great city? And they cast dust on their heads, and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, Alas, alas, that great city, wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea, by reason of her costliness. For in 1 hour is she made desolate. Rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for God hath avenged you on her. And a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone, and cast it into the sea, saying, Thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. And the voice of harpers and musicians, and of pipers and trumpeters, shall be heard no more at all in thee. And no craftsman, of whatsoever craft he be, shall be found any more in thee. And the sound of a millstone shall be heard no more at all in thee. And the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee. And the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. For thy merchants were the great men of the earth. For by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. And in her was found the blood of prophets, and of saints, and of all that were slain upon the earth. So I did just want to go through those 2 chapters, just so that you can get the fuller context. And in Revelation 17, we can see that Babylon is being represented by a woman, a harlot, and this woman is identified or called Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth, as it says in chapter 17, verse 5. And another description that we're given is that she is said to be sitting on many waters and is being carried by a red beast that has 7 heads and 10 horns. This is not the first time that we are given the imagery of a beast. This is actually one of two beasts that are described in Revelation 13. And this one is said to rise out of the sea. So when I was going through this and when we were discussing with my family, we were talking about what does that mean? What's the imagery of the sea? And it struck me again when I was reading through Isaiah 21, because it starts off by saying the burden of the desert of the sea. So that same language was being used there too. And in a general sense, in the Bible, the sea represent people, and we'll also see that that's the interpretation that John was given later on. Anyway, this woman, Babylon, is said to be decked very lavishly in purple and scarlet, wearing gold and precious stones, and she is said to be holding a golden cup full of abominations and filthiness. And the fact that she is being described as a harlot speaks to her unfaithfulness, because she is said to commit fornication with the kings of the earth, which she has also made intoxicated by her wine. And she herself is actually drunk. She's said to be drunk with the blood of the saints, those who are martyred for Christ's sake. So from that we can see that she is a big persecutor of the church, persecutor of the saints. By contrast, John had already been shown a vision of another woman. And in Revelation 12, the woman there is said to be clothed with the sun, and the moon is under her feet, and she's wearing a crown of 12 stars. She gives birth to a male child who is Christ, who is to rule over all the nations with a rod of iron. We are told that the devil, or Satan, who is there visualized as a great red dragon, tries to destroy her and her child as soon as he was born, but was unsuccessful because her child is said to be caught up to God and to his throne. And Revelation 12 also speaks of there being a war in heaven, and the devil and his angels fighting, and they were defeated. And so far, based on our readings as a family, we've come to see that this may be referring to the impact that Christ's death and resurrection and subsequent ascension had on the devil and his kingdom, because there was no more place found for them in heaven, and they were cast down into the earth. And after being cast into the earth, the devil goes after the woman still to persecute her, but she is given wings of an eagle, and she escapes into the wilderness where she has a place prepared by God for her. And there the devil casts water like a flood after the woman, but thankfully the woman is helped by the earth, which swallows up the flood. And this also struck me because although the woman escapes into the wilderness, the devil comes after her with a flood. Again, tying back to that idea of the desert and the sea, as it says in Isaiah 21, the burden of the desert of the sea. So in short, this woman represents the faithful followers of God, as it says in Revelation 12 verses 17, which I'll read briefly. And the dragon was wroth with the woman, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God, and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. And this is not the only mention of this woman. We see her again in the very last chapter of Revelation, where we see her being called the Lamb's wife. She also represents a great city, the Holy Jerusalem. And John is told that only those written in the Lamb's Book of Life can access that city. So that is in Revelation 21 verses 27, and I'll read that. And there shall in no wise enter into it anything that defileth, neither whatsoever worketh abomination or maketh a lie, but they which are written in the Lamb's Book of Life. So as you can see, there's quite a stark contrast between these two women, the harlot and the Lamb's wife, or we can say the city Babylon versus Holy Jerusalem. And you might be wondering, who exactly is Babylon? What is Babylon? This is something that we were exploring in our Bible study, and in Revelation 17, John is given the interpretation of the vision that he had seen, and he is told that the woman that he saw represents a city, and I believe that this is a spiritual city because it is said to have been operating and continues to operate worldwide over the kings of the earth. But we know that there used to be a kingdom called Babylon, but of course that is long gone. So that's why I think it's a spiritual city. So I'll read Revelation 17:15 again, where he gets the interpretation. And he saith unto me, The waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city, which reigneth over the kings of the earth. So, as I had mentioned earlier, the seas represent peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues. And we can also say that those who live in this city, that is, the people who do not know God, can be said to be committing spiritual adultery, hence the imagery of a harlot, through the many idols that people worship, whether it be money, power, trade, industry, entertainment, even false religions or philosophies. So by doing these things, they commit acts of spiritual unfaithfulness in all their forms. And some of these are described in Romans 1 verses 29 to 32, which says, Being filled with all unrighteousness, fornication, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness, full of envy, murder, debate, deceit, malignity, whisperers, backbiters, haters of God, despiteful, proud, boasters, inventors of evil things, disobedient to parents, without understanding, covenant breakers, without natural affection, implacable, unmerciful, who, knowing the judgment of God, that they which commit such things are worthy of death, not only do the same, but have pleasure in them that do them. The people that are committing these kind of acts that are described in Romans are the ones who reside in the city Babylon. Because as we saw, the contrast is those who are living in Holy Jerusalem, and those are the saints or the believers. So we can see that it is not a physical city that's being described, but a spiritual one. But we can still see the hallmarks of the old Babylon in the way of life that people back then used to practice, continuing even to today. And it's that lawless, self-governing mindset, which does not acknowledge the existence of God, that is being associated with this spiritual Babylon. So that was the first part, and I'll be posting the second part soon. So stay tuned for that.